So I thought I'd give a garden update, particularly the greenhouse. The raspberries are doing really well for their second full summer, and we've got quite a bit of fruit on, as you can see, and my bees are all through here. One thing I don't understand is like this. You can see some good fruit on there, and some almost looks like sucked dry, but oh, there's an ant. The wasps and the ants get on there and knock back sometimes a whole cluster, which is really frustrating to me. So I was doing a pretty good job of weeding, but it's coming apart. I need to throw a few more stakes in so I can push it up. It's mainly falling off on this side, so get that up off the lawn. This is the first real summer of the strawberries, and they're doing really well. We've probably picked, I don't know, 50 strawberries off and eaten them, but the birds keep eating them, so I'm gonna have to net this next summer. There's a honeybee. One of my bees, most likely. And the rhubarb is finally starting to catch on. Although this guy's a little bit spindly. It just hasn't really boomed. This is its first real long summer. And now the greenhouse. I did put the corners on, and with a beetle XL in there on the ridge all the way down, so water doesn't get on the wood at all. And I still got to rig up how I'm going to do this window with metal. And you can see we're booming in there, and I'll get in there and show you that. Here's another corner. So I think I'm keeping the water off the wood. Turn this off for sound. It does get warm in here. It's been 100 degrees some days. Usually it's between 80 and 90. Not outside, inside. So, but we're growing really well. I'll show you what plants are not doing well and give a rundown on that. So the strawberries I put in here as an experiment are doing quite well. They seem to like it. Heat doesn't bother them. The peppers from red, these are bell peppers, these four. We've got some buds on there, but they're just kind of stumpy and don't look good. I got some aphids in the last few days, and I sprayed some soapy solution on them, and that killed the aphids. The Anaheim and jalapeno, sweet peppers, they don't like it in here. They're just small, stumpy little things after 2 months. So I don't know what's going on there. We've harvested basil. We've got some sage. Both those basil we've harvested off of. The dill we haven't harvested. I probably need to do something. Looks like it's about to seed and drop. Yep, we're already getting some seeds dropped down there, and then I'll have dill everywhere. We've harvested quite a bit of cilantro, and then I let it just kind of bloom, and it turned into a flowering plant, and it looked really pretty and smelled good, so I left it for a long time. We just harvested the base as it grew, and I finally could just cut it off. So I keep referring to these as radishes in other videos, but the beets are doing quite well. So that's nice to see, and the heat doesn't seem to affect them at all. They've really come up. Same thing with the carrots. They're doing really well, coming up. The cucumbers, these 4 bushes, 3 with cages, 1 with just vine with twine, are coming up, and there are tons of flowers. You can see all the flowers in there. I haven't seen any cucumbers yet. Let's look down in here. See, look at that vine back there with all those flowers. Looking for any cucumbers that are starting to develop. There are just tons of blossoms there. I don't see any cucumbers, but that doesn't surprise me yet. These tomato plants on this side are really thriving, especially this guy. I think all three of these are early bird. I'm starting to get some fruit. You can see back in there. Here's a couple tomatoes. Tomato. I have lots of blossoms on the tomatoes. This Roma did some weird stuff down there at the stalk that I didn't catch. I went through and trimmed up the stalks. And then notice this cluster down in there. But the Romas are starting to come on. These yellow cherry tomatoes are starting to come on, getting little guys popping up all over. I've tried to keep the lower stalks trimmed on all the tomatoes and pinch off these little starts so it'll send energy up into the fruit, and so I can just kind of keep an eye out for pests at the bases. The tomatillos are booming. They're growing really big, and lots of blossoms on these. I haven't seen any fruit in the tomatillos yet. So one thing that's making me nervous is, there's a tomatillo, I think. I haven't grown tomatillos before, so I don't know what the fruit's gonna look like. There's something there. I see tons of bees through my raspberries, but I haven't seen bees in my honeybees in here at all. So I'm worried about the pollination. I keep the fan going to stir the air and to pull cooler air into here. I do see several varieties of wild bees in here, but not a lot of them. So I was hoping planting the marigolds would enhance the attraction to the bees, but so far I haven't seen that really. But we're getting some decent little fruit here and there on the tomato plants. I've tried to thin them out by trimming off some of the sun leaves and just pushing them to turn these blossoms into fruit. But so far it's been a little bit slow to see fruit production on the tomatoes. The squash are doing well. This one's grown. I'm 5'9", and it's 5'9" up there. This one's catching up. I let a couple vines go off into the back here. And then this other variety of squash, I can't remember what it is because I planted it from seed. It's more of a bushing plant. Lots of blossoms in there. There are quite a few down in here actually recently. So far I haven't seen any fruit. Lots of blossoms up the vine. The peas are doing okay. Only 3 came up, and the biggest one is one that actually just produced several blossoms recently. Was one I dropped 6 or 8 inches away from the little frame. So peas were kind of weird. The onions are doing okay. The kale has probably been our biggest crop so far. We just keep harvesting and harvesting and harvesting. Brandy makes smoothies out of that. Or whatever. Healthy smoothies, and then we've harvested a ton of spinach as well. And it started to bolt last week, so really bad. So I just cut it off last night instead of pulling them up out of the ground just to see if it starts to grow again. We'll see. But you can see it's doing quite well. Other than the peppers, I'm not sure. I do think my soil in here is pretty crummy. I did use some potting soil wherever I planted a plant, but I think what I'm going to do this fall is once I pull everything, I will bring in some really good soil. There's a big old bug. What he's doing back here. I will bring in a whole bunch of enhancements to the soil and just till it in and just get it really rich and loamy. And then I'll do the same thing in the spring, and then hopefully I'm planting in really rich soil. And watering by hand is no big deal since we're mostly home all summer. But I might run, I do have a valve here on my system, same system as the yard, and it stems up here. I might run a drip system around. I'll probably just tee it there and run one underground and it'll pop up. And I have a pipe going down each way with uh, just little drips tubing with a little drip cap on the end. And I can just set that drip, all those in different plants, and then run that system. I don't know. It seems like a lot of work. And you can't really, I've been using this guy. I've been pulling what weeds I could, but then I've been using this guy to just get in there and take out the weeds. So, which isn't the best solution, but some of these, like that weed, those two I just knocked down, I wouldn't be able to pull those. The ground's a little bit too much clay, and that type of weed right there, it has a root that's like 9 inches deep, and unless it's just real loose soil, I'm not pulling it. I'll just snap it off an inch deep. So I just been using that to keep the weeds down, and then where it is wet around the plant, I just hand pull those little weeds. So I've been doing a good job with that. So the plants aren't fighting against weeds at all. So, but it's been fun to experiment and see what's going on, and everything's thriving. I think I might plant some more herbs next year. Just I've enjoyed the smell of it in here, and although we haven't been really good about harvesting and using them, I'm hopeful that next year, with a door on there and running some power out here and a heater in here, I can plant really early, and by now I'll be harvesting a lot of things. So, and then again, like I've said before, this whole square back here is going to be turned into garden. I'll plant some potato hills. I'll probably get it cut out and do what I can, but I won't. It's too late now probably to plant. Might throw some potatoes in the ground, but it's probably too late. And I'm hopeful to set my bees back here. Anyway, that's it. That's the greenhouse. It's really cool and fun having this. It's a good protected space. The biggest thing is fighting the heat. Star Valley, it doesn't get really hot. It doesn't get over 80 degrees very often, but it heats up in here real bad. So I might run some slats and kind of create a pergola shaded effect, or I might hang some shade fabric, suspend it somehow, and just let it hang in here. I don't know, but I've got to knock down some of the sun because it gets hot, and I'll put an industrial fan up in there for greenhouses and a vent on that side. That's it. Got our sundial. I've been carrying that around for years from a place I used to work at. It used to be out in the garden space out front. Anyway, that's it. Turn the fan back on, and I already watered today, and we'll let it keep growing.